everyone. Welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Tanjie Brewer with stylishandfit and COVR leader. That's the Circle of Vitality. It's a group of people who are excited about getting fit and healthy together. And with us today, we have Claudia Stewart. She is a nutritionist and wellness coach. Welcome today, Claudia. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. It's exciting to be here. Thank you very much.
Great. Well, today, Claudia, we are talking, about a topic called inflammation. And so many people have heard that word, and I say it's an ugly word, right?
Right.
It's an ugly I word. But it's one of the hidden causes of death. We know that inflammation is a beginning cause of a lot of disease. Tell us about that.
Well, inflammation is the root of all chronic diseases. We've got really, if you picture the iceberg idea, where the top issues are the ones that we're familiar with, the arthritis, the autoimmune diseases, but really what's underneath that is the silent inflammation.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Right, so get your pens and your pencils, get your notes ready and take some good notes, because it's really important that you listen to what inflammation is all about, because you can prevent a lot of illnesses before they happen in your body.
Right, so basically inflammation, we're familiar with the acute inflammation, when you sprain your knee or hurt your finger or cut yourself.
Right.
The body does a natural inflammation to protect itself, and it rushes what needs to be there to help heal and prevent any further injuries or diseases. But what the issue with chronic diseases is what's called chronic inflammation, and that's where the inflammation exists for longer than the body needs it to repair something. And so that's what really is what we're going to be talking about right now, because the number one cause of degenerative disease is actually that subcellular chronic inflammation.
Right.
And there's lots of different diseases that we think of that pertain to that, and they actually are in every body system that the systems of our body that we have. So
let's talk a little bit about that, Claudia, about those diseases. I know everyone carries some sort of cancer cells, right?
Right.
But it's, of course, as we know, when it's out of sort. So let's talk about some of those illnesses.
The typical ones would be your autoimmune diseases,
right.
Your arthritis, gout, intestinal diseases like ulcerative colitis, those kind of diseases. Allergies are actually also inflammation in the systems. And so that's anything that ends with an ITS, the itises, are inflammation-caused diseases. And so when you look at the different systems of the body, you can categorize them. So the typical ones for the digestive system are the irritable bowel syndrome,
right.
which is becoming much too prevalent in our society, unfortunately.
Absolutely.
But also the ulcerative colitis, the Crohn's, the GERD, the acid reflux type issues.
And so many people have these illnesses, and to know that they can be prevented with eating foods that are anti-inflammatory, and so many other things that you can do at home and just by living a healthy lifestyle. So this is what it's all about. It's about empowerment and getting the knowledge, because when you know better, you what? You do better. Right. And we want you to live healthy and whole lives. So let's dig into the good stuff.
Okay, so just a few other systems when you go through your body. When you look at the intestinal system, the reason that we have those problems is the inflammation of the lining of your intestines.
Right.
So as most of us understand, the intestinal issue is a lot of the villi, the finger-like that leads to absorption in our body. So when there's issues with that, with inflammation due to the food we eat, the different things, I'll go into that in a little bit about what causes some of the inflammation. But then your absorption reduces, and so you're basically starving yourself in a lot of ways. But also with the circulatory system, we're all familiar with the heart problems that we have. The inflammation in your arteries, in your circulatory system, cause a lot of the coronary diseases. Those are marked by blood. You can check blood tests. Right. So there's a lot of markers in there that help you know what inflammation is throughout your body, really. The C-reactive protein is your most common one that the doctor checks for you.
Which is important to do.
We feel it in our joints. You've heard the saying, when the weather changes, oh, my bones ache.
Yes, knees. I have a lot of clients that talk about that. You know, when the weather changes and it rains, the knees begin to ache.
So the inflammation is what's reacting to the pressure change in the atmosphere. And so that's because they're inflamed and they're sensitive to that kind of things. Whether it's in your hands, your feet, your back.
Right. The swelling of the hands, and like we mentioned before, gout and things like that. Especially around the knees, fluid retention, all of that is due to inflammation.
It's impairing the joints, the joint movement, and all the different parts of that. The nervous system, you don't often think of that as being susceptible to inflammation, but a lot of what you have for dementia, Alzheimer's, that kind of stuff is actually rooted in inflammation. So, and all of that's preventable.
Right.
So that's what
that's the good news.
That's the good news.
That's the good news, and that's why we are here today, to share the good news and to empower you.
Right, because when we think of the subcellular inflammation, most of it, the number one cause of that is free radical damage.
Yes.
And when somebody hears free radical, they think, well, what does that mean? Not some crazy person, running down the road in a motorcycle or whatever. But it's on the atomic level.
Yes.
So what happens is the atoms get electrons stolen from them, so they go a little out of whack, and so they're a little drunk and they bump into each other. And they're causing a series of damage throughout the cells at this molecular level. And so a lot of that is caused from our normal body produces it.
Right.
Each cell is like a little engine. And if you've pushed your lawnmower or snowblower around here, you've got the exhaust coming out, and that's what's in those cells, and that's what's causing some of the inflammation. And so, but also the food we eat is a major source. Right.
With processed foods on the rise, as we know, and all of America, I think it's consumed. We consume. I think we've heard. Not I, because I and not Claudia, because we do not consume a lot of processed foods. But isn't it somewhere about like 70% and up, as far as the foods that America consumes? It's processed. It's in packages, and that is where most of this inflammation is coming from.
Correct, because the food has been altered.
That's right.
From its natural state.
Genetically modified. It's not good for you.
The body doesn't recognize it as food anymore.
Right. The hormones that are placed in foods, the nitrates, the dyes, the foods that you're able to keep on the counter for years and years.
Unless it's fermented.
Unless it's fermented, because fermentation is actually good for you.
It's extremely good for you.
Right.
But even the air we breathe, most of us now, unfortunately, in this country and around the world live in cities.
Right.
So we're breathing a lot of the pollution in.
Right.
But also infections.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. Exercise, I'm afraid, does produce free radicals.
Right.
Because you're moving the engine of your body.
Right.
And so there's some exhaust coming out. And so that needs to be removed.
That's right. And it also, you're getting rid of toxins. So I have a lot of clients sometimes when they're really getting into the exercise routine and they've changed their regimen, they begin to get a little ill, a little sick.
Yes.
Because their body is getting rid of all those toxins. So that's what you want to happen.
Exactly.
So you definitely have to make sure that you're putting the proper energy back into your body to refuel it. You also have to make sure that you're drinking the proper fluids, water, of course.
Yes, and
because sugar.
We'll talk about that.
Inflammation, that's another one. So.
But yeah, you have to be able to get that toxin out of your body.
Right.
And that's another topic together with digestive issues. But we need to be able to get that out of the body.
Absolutely.
So, well, interesting though, when you think about free radical damage, we aren't sure a lot of ways, how do we fix it? How do we take care of it? How do we get that toxin out of our body?
Yes.
And the number one free radical fixer is called OPC. And it's a big, long word, oligomeric paranthocyanidins. And
OPC is all you need to know.
It's all you need to know. It's an easy way to do it. And it's actually a food base. It's similar to vitamin C's and vitamin E's, but it's actually more powerful. And it's comes from your fruit, but actually one of the most powerful ones is pine bark, interestingly enough. And so it's called Pycnogenol, and that's one of the best ones out there, as far as most effective. But
So-
also bilberries,
Yes, those are great.
red wine, those kind of things, grapeseed extract. Those are really powerful concentrated OPCs.
And what about elderberry?
That's because it's all in the berry and in the, comes out with the cytidins are food-based antioxidants.
Right.
So it helps repair your vitamin C's, it's full of
Right.
E's
So
and
great.
C's. And so those are really powerful ones. And what those do is they lend electrons. And so when they run into one of those crazy guys that are missing an electron, they have electrons to give.
Yes.
And so they help kind of stabilize. Just kind of like a friend coming along going, okay, it's okay.
Yes.
So
So we need those friends.
We need those friends.
Yes. So if you don't have them, these are the friends that you need in your life. So make sure that you're writing those down.
Yes.
Okay, pine bark, right? Now, where do you get that, Claudia? Let's tell everyone.
Pycnogenol is actually the product trade name of a pine bark distributor. It's one of the most effective ones. And interestingly enough, it was given by the settlers, by the Native Americans,
Right.
as tea to help cure scurvy.
Yes.
That's how it was first discovered.
I'm a true believer that what we need, all we need to heal our bodies is right here on this earth. God has placed it here, you know?
So it's a lot of different ones. Different companies make this one. These particular ones are best in concentrated forms.
Yes.
But you can also get it by eating blueberries, a lot of
Right.
blueberries, natural vitamin C sources give you a lot of those. So you can get them from, mostly you want to eat them from food, but there are more concentrated forms
that are
more
bioavailable
effective.
that can go to the
Right.
body right away, which
Right.
is what you needed, which is important.
Right, so it comes in supplement form.
Right, but if you like me, I like to chew.
Yes.
Sometimes I like the food. Now, supplementation is important too because really we don't get all that we need from food alone.
Unfortunately,
you know?
the food
Unfortunately, so
is not
you
as
have to
effective.
supplement. So it's definitely important, you know, Claudia, she was mentioning about vitamin C needing those things. You really do need to know your levels too,
Yeah.
going to the doctor and knowing where you are on that.
So the OPCs help calm those free radicals down, which so it helps your cardiovascular system, it'll help your digestive system, it'll really help your nervous system, it'll help reduce the free radical damage and the inflammation. And so there's been just books and books written on the benefits of the OPCs.
Right.
And so I've got a couple of slides here that kind of go through the benefits of them, just the different ways that, amazing enough, since the body is one system,
Yes.
when you're helping one part of it, the whole body benefits.
Right.
And so that's what the powerful thing about the OPCs are, is that it's not just fixing your elbow,
Right.
it's actually fixing the whole body.
And isn't
for
that
you.
good to know?
Yes,
You know?
because the body is all works together beautifully.
Right, it's so intricate, you know?
Yeah,
You've heard, just like kind of like I often say that we're not just here for ourselves.
right.
Like we just talking about each other. We all have something to contribute on this earth. And you think about your body, you know, your thumb is just not here alone by itself,
Your
right?
thumb, yeah.
So it's great that you can take something and your whole body can change by getting something balanced like vitamin C. It's something that you need because they all work together, your organs, and it's so important.
Right, so when I'm helping my clients, what happens when they start eating real food and they realize that their feet aren't as swollen,
Yes.
and even though they may be losing weight as well, but they also are reducing the swelling in their knuckles.
Yes.
And so the whole body reacts so positively to
That's
that.
right.
That's
right.
Now, the second cause is omega-3s.
Huge.
Huge,
so important.
huge, huge. Because omega-3s are such a powerful anti-inflammatory.
That's right.
And we don't get anywhere near enough.
Yeah.
And so again, like when you list of the list of diseases caused by inflammation, when you have a deficiency in omega-3s, it's a very similar list of issues that our body reacts to. Because it's, again, our diet is so out of focus with what we're getting. We're no longer eating the large amounts of omega-3s. We're getting the omega-6s and omega-9s.
Right.
Again, because of the food processing. The food processing is leaning towards the 6s and the 9s more so than the 3s.
That's right.
So when we look at a cell, every cell in our body has a fat layer, it's called a lipid layer around it.
Yes.
And that lipid layer needs to be made up of omega-3s. If we don't supply the body with the omega-3s, it'll use whatever it has.
Right.
But unfortunately, what it does is the omega-6s and the omega-9s are actually pro-inflammatory. And so they actually inflame the cellular walls, which makes the cell rigid and less efficient at either accepting nutrients and or getting rid of the pollution that the body generates, the toxin that it generates. And so it's very important that we get that layer replaced.
Yes.
It's kind of like the difference between a hard plastic and a breathable plastic that lets things get in and out. And so when we're really rigid, then the body is rigid.
Right.
Do you think of that way?
Yes. But you know what? It's true though. I think that when someone is dealing with a lot of inflammation, then they themselves become rigid in their emotions, because it affects all of that as well. It affects your mind, like you said, dementia and Alzheimer's, and just your overall attitude.
Right.
And so the foods that we eat, so I can understand that totally.
Well, 60% of our brain is fat,
Right.
and it needs to be omega-3s.
And let's talk about some of those things. Of course, we know good old salmon.
Is
Right.
our best one.
But you don't want to do farm raised, right? You want to get the wild caught, right?
Wild caught, right. So, but the
Because
important
it's
thing about the omega-3s is the understanding the two different components of it. It's called EPA and DHA.
Yes.
And
Let's
I'm
talk
not,
about
I'm
that.
not going to try to pronounce
Okay.
I'm sorry, can't do that.
It's EPA, right? And yes.
And so the EPA is that works on the cardiovascular system and on your circulatory system, and the DHA is the one for your brain, and that's the one that's very vital for helping inflammation on your nerves,
Right.
the ends of your brain cells, and it crosses the blood-brain barriers for you. Very few things do that for the safety of our own health. Very few components pass that blood-brain barrier. Opcs do, and the DHAs do. And so that's really vitally important. And so when you look at our diet, when you look at the oils that we eat are high in omega-6s and omega-9s.
Right.
So again, like we go back to the salmons, so we want to look at the fresh, wild-caught salmons, but also more importantly is the smaller fish. Honestly, if you can eat more sardines, more anchovies, those are the safer fishes to get. I don't know about you, when I grew up I would watch some guys eat those little tin cans of sardines.
Yes, I would see that, yes. But and that's why I like to take mine and supplementation from.
Right. Because
But
you can't eat that much anymore.
Right.
And the key thing is the ratio. We do need the 6s and the 9s because we do need inflammatory responses. Our body knows for cuts and bruises, we do need to have some inflammatory.
Right.
But if you look at the slide, the ratio is way out of whack with our body. We need a healthier ratio between the 6s and the 3s.
Let's go back to the oils.
Okay?
Because there are so many different oils in foods, like the safflower. What is it? Safflower oil.
Safflower, canola oils.
Canola oils.
Corn oils.
Yes, and you see that the foods, you may be eating a food and it may be low in fat, and it may have whole grain, whole wheat, and low in sodium, but it has the safflower oil,
Right.
The canola. So those are the things too to make sure that you're aware of as well, because those are high in the omega-6s.
Right, and the hydrated.
Yes, the partially hydrated
Which we're gonna
soybean
talk
oil.
about.
Oh my goodness, that is something that I know for me, my clients, I always tell them, now go to your cabinets and look at everything that has partially hydrogenated soybean oil and just get rid of it. No questions asked. Get rid of it. Your body's much too valuable.
Right, and so when I have my clients look at the ingredients of things, not just look at the panel that has the sugars and the carbohydrates, but you need to look at the little stuff below it that actually
Right.
spells out the rest of the stuff.
Right, all of that's important too. Not just, this is 1 gram of fat, for 2 servings or whatever. It's
Right.
so much more than that. Remember, when you're living a healthy lifestyle, it's not about fat anyway. And even when it pertains to your weight, it's not about weight loss, because we know skinny is not necessarily healthy. It's getting the very environment of your body healthy. And when you do that, I always say losing weight is inevitable.
Right.
Right?
It is. And so for inflammation, if you're dealing with inflammation, there's some recommended levels of fish oil to get, especially if you're going to use a supplementation.
Right.
The basic one that the Heart Association recommends is anywhere from 2.5 to 3 grams a day of a good quality fish oil, which means it has to have a high quantity of EPA and DHA. So if you, we can talk a little bit later about the qualities of fish oils. But amazingly enough, you can treat some pretty serious chronic diseases with high levels of really purified fish oils. So anything from obesity, diabetes, cancers, all the way up to neurological diseases, if you do have the dementias and stuff. Dr. Barry Sears, I have the website at the end, is a wonderful resource for what he uses for his patients as far as omega-3s.
Right. And these are things, you all, that regular doctor's offices, they will not tell you. You know, we know that we are in an industry of prescription drugs, and that is probably $1 billion or more industry, or more
Hundreds
industry.
of billions of dollars.
I know. It's just amazing how much money is made. So you've got to do this research on your own, but to know that these things are preventable and then reversible.
Right.
That's the
good news. And there's a lot of doctors now that are called functional medicine doctors who will use these natural resources to help us heal our bodies. And so those are great doctors to use.
Yes, there are some good doctors out there.
So, so when we look at the fish oils, we talk about the purest sources, and again, I recommend fish oils that are from sardines or anchovies, because you want the smaller fishes so they're not contaminated with high levels of the mercuries and the BPAs.
Right.
So we need to make sure it's distilled correctly, and so you really need to know where your fish oil is coming from.
That's right.
That's my first recommendation.
There are certain ones that I definitely trust, but you don't want to go to your nearest, I would say, like Walgreens or grocery store and get them there.
They typically have very low levels of EPA and DHA anyways.
Right.
So let's talk about foods. We've already talked a little about avoiding the high fats, the saturated fats.
Yes.
The red meats, particularly if they're really fatty red meats.
Right.
The only caveat I give to that is if it's grass-fed.
Right.
Because grass-fed beef has a very high level of omega-3s, actually. It's the corn-fed and grain-fed beefs that have the high 6s. That's why our diet's so out of whack, is because the meat no longer is wild-fed either. I mean, we talk about wild-fed salmon, we also need wild-fed beef. And so if you do enjoy,
which you should do very sparingly if you're partaking in red meat anyway.
Right, it needs to be grass-fed, all the way to the end. A lot of them will do grass-fed and then corn-fed the last month, which kind of defeats the purpose.
And then if you're getting this food at a restaurant, or you don't know if it is, so it's safe if you're going to do that to buy it yourself and cook it yourself.
Yeah, if you're going to do it on a regular basis, you need to make sure.
Yes, and hopefully you're not doing it on a regular basis, because you know how I feel about meat. It's extremely acidic to the body, and so that definitely does need to be done sparingly, I will say.
Right. So the other ones that obviously limit are your trans fats.
Right.
Any of your saturated fats, like we just said with the meats. But also the white breads and the pastas, because they turn to sugar, glucose in your body, but also they've already been so ground and processed that there's nothing really nutritious left in them.
That's right.
And there are high levels of omega-6s in them.
Very high levels. And I know there are some pastas, some substitutes that are being made now, like a black bean pasta that's made out of black beans and the quinoa. And then they also have a sprouted grain one now. The Ezekiel bread, now they make a pasta.
Oh, delightful.
Yeah, they do. So, and then you can actually make, I know I've made some from zucchini. You know how you can make
pasta.
So it's from vegetables. But yeah, you definitely need to limit your flours.
Right, and the sodas. the soda pops bleach out the calcium out of your bones.
Yes.
That's another talk as well, but the pH level of your body, that's why this country actually is leading in osteoporosis, is because of that. We're so acidic that no matter how much dairy you drink, which really doesn't do either, but
yeah, coffee, and there's other things too that it definitely
right,
pulls
because it leaches
the calcium from your bones.
So now, sugar. What happened in the 80s is when we went non-fat.
Right.
We went sugar.
Sugar increased.
Everything.
I know Weight Watchers, and I won't ever disparage any company, but I know there's these 100 pack of calorie snacks, and so you'd see the calories, and then you'd look at the sugar, and then the fat grams. I remember when I was in high school, the Teddy grams. I don't know if you've heard of Teddy grams. You're like, you can eat 24 to 36 little teddies.
Oh, okay.
And it's like 3 grams of fat, but the sugar was like sky high, So you're right. As fat decrease, sugar increase because they have to find a way to make the food taste what they feel is
palatable.
Palatable. But there's so many ways that you can eat healthy, and I always like to say that still make your taste buds dance.
Right. I would rather have the fat than the sugar, because the sugar kills so much of our body. It's deadly to your immune system.
Very.
It depletes your vitamins.
Yes.
Like I said, it depletes the calcium out of your body. It also leads to a lot of heart issues for you.
Yeah,
not
even blood pressure, they're saying now.
Mentioning the diabetes,
yes.
the overtax of the pancreas.
Right.
And it's addictive.
Very. It releases this chemical, dopamine, in the brain, right? It's like kind of like a drug.
If you've seen the brain scan, they've been going around all the different, social medias.
Yes.
They have a brain scan of someone on cocaine next to someone that's on sugar, and then the same area of your brain is lit up. And the food companies know that.
They know that.
And so they formulate the correct combination of sugar and salt to
get you addicted, so you can
addicted.
continue to buy those Oreos, because that is one cookie that they studied. I don't know if you've read the article on that.
Yeah, the Oreo
they
one.
studied a way to put just these ingredients that are kind of borderline, but it's still harmful. But where they push the envelope, but so that you can get addicted to it. And I know it's somewhere, I can't remember exactly how many ingredients, but I don't want to misquote it.
Right.
But we know that is a very addictive cookie. But the sugar content is of course high. And then cancer feeds on sugar. It just goes on and on.
Because it acidifies the body, and cancer likes acid body.
Acidic environment. Right?
So, what is the answer? So, I kind of stole this idea from Dr. Barry Steers about the zone.
Right.
There's the zone. So the zone is the perfect combination of the anti-inflammatory diet, which we'll talk about in a second, but also the combination of the omega-3s and the Opcs, because both of those are such strong anti-inflammatories. And then you support that with actually the food is supported by your supplements of your omega-3s and your Opcs. And so you want to get in that perfect zone where all those are in balance for you.
Right.
So when we talk about an anti-inflammatory diet, really we want to talk about eating real food.
Right.
Food that doesn't have labels.
Right, whole.
Doesn't come out of a window.
Yes, that your body craves, right?
That your grandmother would recognize as food.
Right.
So that means real vegetables, fresh vegetables, if at all possible. Some climates we just can't always have that. So frozen is your next best bet.
And then make sure if you're going to get frozen, do organic, right?
Absolutely.
And not canned.
No canned.
Can the cans.
Can the cans. But the best ones are your dark green vegetables.
Right.
The fuller the color, the better.
Power greens, I like to say. The nutrient-dense ones. At the top of the list is kale, right?
Kale. I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah. That's our superfood.
Yes.
My favorite superfood.
Kale, that's what Whole Foods. I don't know if you've seen it. They go kale, but anyway, but that's very important. Yes.
And then the fruit. The thing about the sugar in the fruit is you need to keep the fiber. So I don't suggest people juicing. If they're going to do anything with the food, they need to blend it. So the fiber is kept with the sugar. And then no more than really 3 servings of fruit a day. Because as much as we love it, it is still sugar in it. It's still sugar.
And I see some people, they eat a banana. There's something for breakfast, and then they're eating one, for lunch, and then there's an apple here, and then there's watermelon here, and then there's cantaloupe, and it's just definitely too much sugar. And then in the smoothies too,
Right.
you definitely have to watch how many fruits you're putting in that smoothie. But you're thinking, oh, but I'm drinking a smoothie. It's got fruit, you know. But I always say for even every one piece, half a piece of fruit, to like a cup of vegetables. I like to put kale and spinach, and then a half of a frozen banana, maybe some of your plant-based protein powder.
Yeah, right. And don't just drink straight apple juice or orange juice.
Wasn't there some like
Arsenic.
And apple juice? They found traces of that.
I'm sure they did, because
But
especially if it's not organic, but
Right.
also
and not from concentrate too. It's a
Right.
good thing to
It's
make sure
just
that you're getting.
your daily
that.
allowance of sugar is in 8 ounces of apple juice. It's amazing.
Isn't that? Yes, amazing. So definitely stay away from sugar. So getting back to the diet.
So the healthy fats.
Or the healthy
So
fats.
you need them, obviously the fish, the lean meats. Fish is the ideal one. It's a little
Right.
hard depending on where you are, in the U.S. to eat, really fresh fish. But even the frozen fish.
Yeah, they have some frozen, but just make sure that it says wild caught on the frozen packages. I know I've been able to find them because I always suggest that you have frozen on hand so that you don't go to a fast food place.
Right.
But have your frozen vegetables. I like to get my frozen wild caught salmon. I'll get it even from Target at times.
Yeah.
They have it in the frozen section. Just make sure that you have, that it says.
Right. The label needs to make sure it says wild caught.
That's right, on the label.
Right. Nuts are an excellent source. I keep glass jars of various types of nuts on my counter.
Yes,
for
and
my kids to snack on.
I think that's great. I believe that there should be I call them counter keeps.
Yeah.
So counter keeps, having fresh fruit on the counter, because I feel like if it's in the refrigerator, sometimes if they don't see it,
Yeah.
but also the nuts, but make sure that they're not roasted and salted, right? Because salt is another thing you want to definitely limit.
You need to be limited. It's not the demon that it was 20 years ago, because there's other real causes to the blood pressure issue.
Right.
That
Oh,
the salt was. And salt is a very vital mineral for our body.
That's right.
So
the iodine.
we just need to not, overdo it. But fresh, raw nuts are the best.
Right, absolutely.
You can work your way that direction. I'm all for a step at a time.
Yes, raw, not salted, and roasted.
Right. So a couple of the really cool foods that we don't think about are garlic. This is not
Yes.
natural anti-inflammatory. Ginger is really awesome.
Love
Ginger tea, fresh ginger grated in your smoothies.
That's great.
Any of that.
And because you remember, I know when I was growing up, my mother or my grandmother would say, if you're not feeling well, they would get ginger ale. And I remember going to look at the ginger ale in the grocery store. Do you know there was no ginger? No ginger ale. I'm like, how did they call this ginger ale and there's no ginger? So it's better to get some ginger, boil it yourself, make some ginger tea. And now I know there are some ginger ales out there. Whole Foods, I think, carries
ones
one that actually have ginger. So the ones in the grocery store, you all.
You gotta watch, yeah. Another really super one is turmeric.
Turmeric,
Or
yes.
curcumin, both, it's the same spice.
Those are
Are extremely powerful anti-inflammatories and detoxifiers for your body.
That's awesome to know.
Cinnamon.
Yeah.
Cinnamon is lovely to add whenever you can in your smoothie.
To your oatmeal.
I put in
or,
my oatmeal every morning.
your hot tea even.
So that's a great anti-inflammatory. Any vegetable, broccoli is probably the leading one for that, but obviously, like we already said, any fresh vegetable is the best one. And then kale.
Oh, yes.
It's a superfood. Because interestingly enough, it actually has 9 of the amino acids that we need in our body. Because we typically think of meat as having only the ones that have there's beans have them, but kale, amazingly enough, also has them.
That's awesome.
And
it's such a great power green. You can do so much with it. You can put them in your smoothies, you can your salad. Now there's kale chips.
Yeah,
of course,
right.
you can bake them in the oven. So there's so many things you can do with kale, and just play around with it. Because I've heard some people, they may not like it. starting out, but then they fall in love with it.
You can saute it, you can chop it
Yes.
up in little tiny pieces, you can blend it in your smoothies,
right,
great
it's
place to
great.
put it. People can't, the taste is easy to hide
Right.
if you, if you don't like the taste of it.
It's not like arugula. Arugula
Right.
kind of has a,
It's not a strong flavor.
no, but it's good.
But, find the organic, ones of it if at all possible.
Right.
And so those are some ideas for how we can naturally help our body to be lower the inflammation in it.
That's good.
The biggest thing I want people to do is drink water,
Huge.
because that helps the body detoxify itself
Right.
and removes so much out of your system. And so as your body is naturally trying to get rid of the free radicals and the inflammation, the water helps smooth the way. It helps soften the walls of your cells, because your body needs that. And Americans are chronically dehydrated.
Yes, very true. And if you get thirsty, which we tend to do, I know sometimes I'm running and I go, okay, I know I'm already dehydrated if I start to really get thirsty. But let's talk about water for a moment, because I've seen so many put things in their water. Like some ask me, well, Tanjie, you drink tea all the time. Iced tea, that's not pure water. Putting Crystal Light, oh my goodness, that has aspartame, which is poison to the body. These ways to get the water to taste good or whatever, you really do need to drink pure water, right?
Yes.
Unless you're adding something like lemon a little bit.
Cucumber. They have those new pitcher diffusers.
Right.
They have a little thing you can just stick your cucumbers or your lemons. If you don't like to have them floating in your water,
Yes.
there's now diffusing pitchers that a friend of mine has a big one that has a little spigot on it. And
You
she
can just
uses-
put it in the refrigerator, and then your children or your spouse or whomever may stay with you, they can
They can
partake,
take it
because it
really
is
easy.
something that kind of gives you a little kick and kind of changes it up. But just know that those vitamin waters, that's not water.
No.
The Sobeys and all those things, those are also toxic to the body as well.
Right, so you need filtered as best you can, or spring water if you can find it.
Right.
There's different ways that you can get the water. Tap water has a lot of other things in it that needs to be taken out of it.
Right,
if
so
possible.
just I would say it's important to have something on your faucet
Right.
that filters the water out.
So when people think, okay, so now what am I supposed to do? I have this knowledge, now how do I help myself? The biggest thing is we need to be aware of it.
Right.
So this is what this is for, is to help us be aware of that we have this information in our body.
Know your body, that's absolutely correct.
Know yourself.
That if your hands are swelling, that's for a reason. If your body is retaining fluid around the knees, and there's also so many other issues as well that
Even just low energy,
yes.
sluggish out of bed, understand that that's happening. Take a honest look at your diet. What I do is I have a lot of my clients journal their food.
Right, important.
Be accountable to somebody. Find somebody that, whether it's a spouse or if that's too close,
The spouse is like, oh, you can do that
find a good friend,
Right.
who can say, hey, have you written down what you ate today?
Right.
Because we don't think about it. We just put stuff in our mouth.
Right. You have to be conscious, because we live, I believe, in a society where people, I think, and circumstances dictate when we eat and what we eat. There's always going to be a baby shower, a wedding, a potluck at work, right?
Somebody brings snacks into
Yes,
work.
a girlfriend saying, I need to talk, meet me at the movies or wherever, share some popcorn with me. No, you have to be in control of your health. And it is not a free pass if you're, traveling, and you have to always be on point and always be conscious of everything that touches your lips. I often say as well, I would hear some of my clients, well, Tanjie, on the weekends, it's my free. I do whatever. So I go, are you less valuable on the weekends than you are during the week? So it's all about being conscious and understanding that if you take care of your body, it'll simply take care of you. But inflammation, everyone, make sure that you check your body, and then two, understand that there are ways to prevent illnesses and different things from happening. And if you are someone who is pre-diabetic, or if you have high blood pressure, just know that a lot of these things, it does start with inflammation. Claudia?
Right, so there's some helpful resources, there's some doctors' websites, some good books. Tanjie's a great person to, you know, if you need a coach, that kind of thing, you know.
stylishandfit.com. And then Claudia, of course, I know Claudia is a health coach here, and so make sure you get someone that can help you. And it's so very vital, and it's important, because we can't just do this. I always say you can always learn more. You don't just want to do anything on your own. And that's why I'm all about having different programs that, you know, we get together, because we all have to continue to get fit and healthy together. Even if you have your six-pack, even if you go to the doctor and they go, okay, great, your blood pressure is great, we still have to continue to be well. And you have to be intentional about it. And you do have to put action behind what you're hearing, everyone. Please put action. I believe that's very important. And then too, like Claudia mentioned, this information that we had as far as your new diet and I don't like to say diet, I like to say lifestyle.
Lifestyle, absolutely.
Yes, but like fish, you know, have it 2 times a week, you know, twice a week. Maybe, you know, your berries, make sure that you're including those in your small energizing meals, you know, throughout the day. So there's so many things that you can do.
Even if it's just baby steps, just add 1 more vegetable a day.
Right.
Try it for a week.
And then, so add and then eliminate. I always like to say add the alkaline and eliminate the acidic. So say, hey, I'm not going to go to fast food places. You know, it's just, there's nothing good for you there. Nothing. And that's one of my top 5 things. I'll say never do in moderation. I will never say it's okay to go to McDonald's once a week or even once a month. I just will not say it. There's nothing good for you there. And even a lot of these salads too.
Oh yeah.
Tons of sodium and sugar.
Yep. They're
Coated with sugar. The craisins, right? Cranberries. These craisins. Oh, Tanjie's cranberries. I'm eating that mixed with nuts. No, full of sugar.
Sugar, very much.
So, well, this has been enlightening. And Claudia, I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you'd like to share concerning information?
Just take it one step at a time, and you can do it. You can do it.
Yes, you can. Well, thank you all for joining us today. And I trust that you feel empowered and you understand a little bit more about inflammation. So until next time, be well and take control of your health.